Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Renze. I am a data science consultant, author, and public speaker, and welcome to my very brief or short presentation on preparing your career for AI. So, over the past few millennia, humanity has gone through several major technology revolutions. Around 10,000 years ago, we entered the agricultural revolution, and this revolution led to new technologies like farming, the plow, and the wheel. And as a result, agricultural societies spread from the cradle of civilization to the ends of the earth. Around 250 years ago, we entered the Industrial Revolution. And this revolution led to new technologies like steam power, factory, and electricity. And as a result, these industrial societies flourished and spread across the globe as well. Less than 100 years ago, we entered the Information Revolution. And this revolution led to new technologies like telecommunications, electronic computers, and digital information. And as a result, these high-tech societies have flourished and spread across the globe and throughout cyberspace. Now, with each of these technology revolutions, human society was radically transformed over a relatively short period of time. And with each revolution, we saw a wellspring of new technologies that had never existed before. And with each revolution, there were those who prepared and thrived in this new society, and those who were unprepared and became redundant, unemployable, or obsolete. Today, we're entering the next major revolution in human history, the artificial intelligence revolution. And like the previous technology revolutions, we're likely going to see a similar transformation, a fundamental transformation of our economy and our society. And we'll likely see a wellspring of new AI-enabled technologies. And once again, there will be those people who prepare and thrive in this new world, and those who are unprepared and become redundant, unemployable, or obsolete. So the purpose of this very brief presentation today is to answer the following question. What should I do today to prepare my career for the coming wave of AI-enabled automation? What should you be doing right now to prepare as we enter this next major technology revolution? So to answer this question, I'm going to provide you with three key pieces of advice. Educate yourself about AI, upgrade your career for AI, and invest in an AI-first economy. Now, typically, if I give a longer version of this presentation, I have a lot more advice to give, and I go a lot more into what and how to do these things. But today, since we've got a short period of time, we're just going to focus on the three most important things and why they're important. But I'll point you in a direction to go next if you're interested in learning more. All right, so step one, educate yourself about AI. So why is education important during a technology revolution? Why can't we just continue going about our business day to day while the world changes around us? Well, with each of the previous technology revolutions, there was a need to update human education in order for them to function in this new world. With the agricultural revolution, humans became proficient with agricultural technologies. As a result, we had to learn how to farm, domesticate animals, and use a plow. With Industrial Revolution, humans had to become proficient with industrial technologies. And as a result, we had to learn how to operate steam engines, run machinery, and work with electricity. And with the Information Revolution, humans had to become proficient with information technologies. As a result, we had to learn how to use telephones, work with computers, and program software. With the AI revolution, humanity is once again going to need to update our basic skill set in order to become AI literate. We're going to need to learn how to train AI models, develop AI applications, and use these AI tools. See, whether you realize it or not, our world is going through this major transition as we speak. We're entering this era of artificial intelligence and machine learning, a future where machines will be doing many of the jobs that humans are currently doing today. As a result, the software industry is currently preparing to go through a major workforce transition as well. Now, in the past, we'd have to explicitly program a computer step by step in order to solve a problem. This involved a lot of if-then statements, for loops, and logical operations. In the future, however, or today I should say, machines can teach themselves how to solve these problems on their own. We just need to provide the data. And now, this is a radically different way of working with a computer than we're used to as software developers and IT professionals. While there's a growing demand for individuals with the skills necessary to implement AI solutions, there's currently a shortage of people capable of teaching machines how to solve these problems in this new way. As a result, those with the skills necessary to leverage AI are commanding significantly higher salaries in the IT industry. And this is a trend that doesn't seem to have any end in sight, at least anytime in the near future. And now, think back to the last major technology revolution, the information revolution. Each of us had a choice to either learn how to use a computer or to stay computer illiterate. And now think of all the opportunities that computer literacy has afforded you over the years, and think of all the disadvantages for those who can barely use a computer. The same is going to be true about AI literacy during this AI revolution. Those who are AI literate are going to be highly functional in this new economy, and those who are not are essentially going to sit on the sidelines and eventually become obsolete. Step 2, upgrade your career for AI. Will AI take my job? This is probably the question I get asked most when I tell people that I work with AI for a living. So the answer, no surprise, is it depends. Now, during the previous technology revolution, we've seen similar shifts in employment. So during the agricultural revolution, we saw the rise of the farmer and the decline of the hunter and gatherer. During the industrial revolution, we saw the rise of the factory worker and the decline of the artisan and craftsman. During the information revolution, we saw the rise of the knowledge worker and the decline of the manual laborer. During the AI revolution, we're likely going to see similar shifts in careers within the labor economy. Now, to put it into perspective, if you could ask a horse in the early 1900s how the automobile or tractor would have changed its life, probably would have told you, it's going to be great. I won't have to haul around a plow anymore, and I won't have to carry people into town anymore like a car. Essentially, a car or tractor would make my life a lot better. Well, unfortunately for the horse, these technologies also made them obsolete to the economy. In fact, we hit peak horse right in 1915, just as the automobile and tractor began to scale up in production. Today, the emergence of modern AI is beginning to have a strong impact on our labor economy. And in the near future, this impact on labor is going to be tremendous. AI is going to automate a significant number of jobs in the next few decades. Given the economics driving this trend, it's less a matter of if a given job is going to be replaced and more a matter of when. Some experts are currently attempting to predict which jobs are most at risk of automation based on measures like their competitiveness or their repetitiveness and complexity. So based on these measures, we can see what type of AI technology will be necessary to automate a variety of occupational tasks. For example, we can see which retail jobs are likely to be automated in the coming years as AI continues to be applied to retail sales. Even the medical industry isn't immune to this coming wave of AI automation. While these medical tasks are generally more complex and less repetitive than like retail jobs or most other jobs, they're rapidly becoming within the reach of modern AI. We can then extrapolate this information to determine which sectors of our economy will be hit the hardest by AI automation. The length of the bars in this chart represent the total number of workers in each type of employment in the United States as of 2016. The red bar segments represent the proportion of jobs at risk of automation in the next 2 decades. And then the blue bar segments essentially show you which proportion of jobs are not at risk of automation and more likely to remain in the next 2 decades. So, as we can see, if these predictions are correct, the future landscape of labor in just the next few decades is going to look radically different than it currently does today. In fact, we can even use these data in order to predict which cities will be most impacted by unemployment from automation from AI. In fact, Las Vegas, Nevada, where I live, is currently at the top of this list. It's estimated that 65% of all jobs in Las Vegas are at risk of automation by 2035. And over half of all the jobs in the USA are at risk of automation in the next 2 decades. Now, there are certainly jobs that are going to be more resistant to automation. And these jobs require more human aspects like compassion, creativity, empathy, and trust. However, there are many jobs today that are unlikely to exist in the next few decades. And this is going to create a tremendous disruption to our labor economy with unemployment, retraining, and early retirement. On the other hand, it's going to create tremendous opportunities for new jobs that don't yet exist and for the IT professionals that build these automation systems, all of us. Now, according to McKinsey Global Institute, AI is expected to automate approximately 600 million jobs. That's roughly 22% of all jobs that currently exist today, likely gone in just 10 years. Fortunately, they're also predicting that 700 million new jobs will be created by 2030, many of which will be jobs that require AI tech skills or at least basic AI literacy. And ultimately, this will be a tremendous disruption to our labor economy in less than a decade. The big question right now is whether AI will create more jobs than it eliminates. Historically, technology revolutions have created more new job opportunities than they've destroyed. However, there's pretty compelling evidence to suggest that the AI revolution might be a bit different than what we've seen in the past. We're beginning to transition from an economy where most of the work of value was done by humans to one where most of the work of value is going to be done by machines. As a result, it's important to ask yourself, which side of this new economy will your job be on? the side that's leading this new economy or the side that's being eliminated by it. Step 3, invest in an AI-first economy. So who's going to be the world's first trillionaire? Who's going to win and who's going to lose in this new AI economy? Well, during the agricultural revolution, we had visionary societies like the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Chinese. They all capitalized on the key technologies of the agricultural revolution. As a result, they became some of the largest and most powerful civilizations on Earth at the time. During the Industrial Revolution, we had visionaries like John D. Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, and Henry Ford. They all capitalized on the key technologies of the industrial era, and as a result, they became some of the wealthiest and most influential people on the planet. During the Information Revolution, we had visionary companies like IBM, Microsoft, and Google. They all capitalized on the key technologies of the information age, and as a result, they became some of the most influential and wealthiest corporations on the planet. During the AI revolution, we'll likely have future visionaries, and they're also going to capitalize on key AI technologies. As a result, they're likely going to become some of the wealthiest and most powerful people, businesses, and governments on the planet. In fact, many experts are currently predicting that the world's first trillionaire will be created by AI. Either the AI itself will generate $1 trillion worth of revenue or profit somehow, or someone will be using AI in order to they'll be selling AI technologies or products to make that first trillion. Now, and for the record, right now Elon Musk is around 268, I think, billion, so he's already a quarter of a way to this $1 trillion mark. And Amazon's founder, Jeff Bezos, was pretty close behind for a while, too. Now, according to McKinsey Global Institute, AI is expected to generate $13 trillion in real economic value by 2030. And this is a 16% increase in our current global GDP in just 10 years. And now, this is a huge amount of wealth that's going to be generated in a very short period of time. We've never seen anything like that before. The AI revolution is likely going to have a significant impact on our economy and capitalism as we know it. These changes will require that individuals, businesses, and governments need to adapt in order to learn how to function in an AI-first economy. First, we're seeing a shift in returns to capital versus returns to labor. So returns to capital are essentially how much money you can make by investing in capital assets. These include investing in machines, software, data, and more. Returns to labor are essentially how much money you can make by soliciting your labor for income. This includes physical labor, knowledge work, and highly specialized labor. Over the past few decades, we've seen a continuous upward trend in returns to capital. As a result, the value that you can get from investing in capital assets continues to increase. On the other hand, we've seen a continuous decrease in returns to labor. That is, as a result, the value that you can get from each hour of labor that you solicit for money essentially continues to decrease. So essentially, labor is becoming cheap and automation is becoming highly profitable. This phenomenon is referred to as the Great Decoupling. So essentially, productivity in the United States continued to rise year after year right until about the mid-1970s. Then labor compensation broke away from this productivity gain trend. The diverging trend will likely continue into the future and will become even further amplified with increasing AI automation. Whether this just happens in the United States or continues to happen globally is yet to be decided unless we do something to regulate how this is happening. So, second, data is likely going to become one of the most valuable resources in our information economy. In fact, many people would already say it already is. Those who have the most data and the ability to enable AI with data will wield tremendous power in our information society, our information economy. In fact, there are data sets that exist today that are worth over $1 billion, literally just ones and zeros sitting on a hard drive in the cloud somewhere worth over $1 billion. Third, the AI revolution will likely lead to a significantly more nonlinear economy. Those with smart machines will have even more power, and those without these smart machines, unfortunately, are going to have even less power unless, once again, we do something to change the power dynamic. As a result, it's going to become harder, progressively harder, for individuals and small businesses to compete with these large established tech companies. And this is likely going to happen really fast. Exponential growth curves like the growth of GDP per capita in the United States, which is our economic output per person, they start out slow and then they explode quite rapidly. So the sooner we begin investing in an AI-first economy, the better off we're all going to be exponentially. All right, so we're going to wrap things up now and learn where to go next for more information so you can take your next steps on your AI journey. So first, if you enjoyed this presentation, very brief presentation, I have a version of it available as a free online course. It contains everything that we covered today, but a whole bunch more, and shows you how to apply each of these recommendations and what you should be doing next. It also has a bunch of other things like helping you develop an action plan for your career so you can move forward. Next, to recap the top 3 recommendations I have for preparing your career for AI, you need to educate yourself about AI now. You need to upgrade your career for AI, and then begin investing in an AI-first economy now. Finally, how does our story end? Well, technology is inherently amoral. It's neither intrinsically good nor evil. The same technology can be used to send mankind to the moon, or it can be used to propel warheads into cities. As a result, it's going to be up to us as a society to choose whether we want to use AI to make the world a better place for everyone, or to use it for our own power, profit, and control. The choice is ours to make. What will you choose? Thank you.